Today I'm going to be making a matcha pie, and I thought it would be fun to share it with you guys. I love baking, and pie has a very special place in my heart. Pies are fun to make, and they're fun to share with others. They can be a bit time and labor intensive, but I think it's worth it. My go-to cookbook for all things pie is this Twenty Blackbirds pie book. I discovered their pie shop in Gowanus, Brooklyn a few years ago when I lived in New York. It's owned by two sisters, and they make the most delicious pies with all butter crusts and a mix of classic and unique flavors. If you're interested in baking delicious pies, I highly recommend this book. The recipe I'm using today is not from the book, but the techniques I'm using and the crust recipe are from the book. So what I'll be making is a matcha custard in an all butter pie crust. First, I'm gonna make the crust, and then I'm gonna make the filling. If I'm doing amazing and planning ahead, on day 1, I'll make the dough and then refrigerate it overnight. On day 2, I'll roll out the dough, fit it to the pie pan, and refrigerate it overnight again. On day 3, I'll make the filling and then bake the pie. But if you don't have multiple days to prepare the crust, it is possible to try to make it all in one day. I'm gonna combine all-purpose flour, granulated sugar, salt, and a stick of cubed butter. I'm just gonna squish in the butter with my hands until it's fully mixed and looks like little peas. Then I'm gonna pour in a mixture of ice water and apple cider vinegar, just a tablespoon at a time. I normally don't even use all the mixture that the recipe calls for. Once the dough comes together, you're gonna roll it into a ball and then wrap it with either plastic wrap or bees wrap. Then I'm just gonna put it in the freezer overnight, or if you're crunched for time, an hour will do. I'm having an Ina Garten moment here. I have this crust pre-prepared magically in the fridge. This has been refrigerated overnight and is ready to be rolled out. So I have my rolling pin, and I'm just going to lightly flour my work surface and then just roll out the dough into a big rectangle. I don't have any exact dimensions, I just roll it out to a big rectangle based on the size of my pie pan. Next, I'll grease my pie pan with either butter or cooking spray. Then, I'm gonna fold it in half and just gently place it into my pie pan. You wanna just smooth out the dough so that it's really nestled into the sides of the pie pan. Then you're gonna wanna trim any excess from the edges. So I use either kitchen scissors or a knife and leave about 1 inch of dough overhanging the edge of the pan. You're gonna wanna just fold that underneath itself so you have a nice thick, sturdy crust all the way around. Then I use my index finger and my thumb on my left hand and my index finger on my right hand, and I just do this crimping action all the way around the edge of the crust. After you crimp the crust, cover it lightly with plastic wrap and then put it in the freezer either overnight or for at least 1 hour. After chilling your pie crust, you're gonna do a partial blind bake. This is a pre-bake of the crust before you add the filling. First, preheat the oven to 425 degrees. Then, remove the pie crust from the freezer. This one is magically pre-prepared, crimped, frozen overnight, and ready to go. Next, cover the crust with parchment paper. The book recommends using foil, but I found that this can stick to the crust, so I prefer to use parchment paper. Next, add your dried beans to the parchment paper as pie weights. You're going to want to concentrate the beans more towards the edges than in the center. Then, bake this for about 20 minutes or until the edges are set but not browned. While this is baking, we're gonna start making the pie filling. So for the filling, I'm going to mix the flour, sugar, salt, and matcha powder. The recipe called for Hatsumukashi matcha from the Ippodo Tea Company. Next, I'm gonna mix in the melted butter. Then I'll add in the eggs, just one at a time. Mix that up. And the cream. And then you're done. That's the filling. A lot quicker than the crust. So now that we made the filling, we'll just set that aside and wait for the crust to finish pre-baking. After about 20 minutes, take the partially pre-baked crust out of the oven. Remove the parchment paper and the dried beans. Don't throw these beans away because I'm pretty sure you can still eat them. I do. Then let this cool for about a minute and you're gonna brush it with egg wash. Then put this back in the oven for another 3 minutes. Once the pie crust is cooled, we're going to strain the filling through a fine mesh strainer into the crust. This helps us catch any unmixed bits so that the filling is perfectly smooth. After adding the filling, we're going to place this on a baking sheet and put it in our 350-degree oven for 1 hour. We're going to rotate once halfway through to make sure the pie bakes evenly. Ta-da! Our pie is done! You want to take the pie out of the oven when the middle is still a bit jiggly because it will set as it cools. Now that our pie is cooled, you get to dig into this bad boy and try a piece. Wow, I love this pie. I love making it, I love the color, and I love eating it with people I love. Let me know in the comments, do you guys like making your own pie? And if you like making your own pie, what types of flavors do you make? Do you make your own crust? Also, let me know if you tried this recipe. And if you're in New York, definitely check out 20 Blackbirds for some very tasty pie. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and let me know what types of videos you guys want to see. Thanks!